On a warm July morning, people in Moncks Corner were startled by an explosion in the sky, followed by debris from two planes tumbling to the ground. An F-16 and a Cessna collided in midair. The pilot of the F-16 was able to eject from the plane before impact, but Michael and Joseph Johnson, a father and son who were in the Cessna, were both killed in that collision.
I just seen one plane coming this way, one going this way, and then they just exploded in midair and a fireball, and then the plane landed in my yard.
The NTSB report found that the Cessna did not have a flight plan, but was also not required to have one. The pair was flying in order to get more hours for son Joseph's pilot's license.
In July, the sleepy town of Holly Hill was rocked when two adults and two children were found murdered. An 8-year-old child survived the shooting. 28-year-old Crystal Hutto, 14-year-old Tamara Perry, and 17-year-old Shamika Sanders were found shot inside the home, and 50-year-old Jerome Butler was found shot to death on the front lawn. In August, Christopher Wright, Crystal Hutto's fiance and the father of all three children who were shot, was arrested and charged with 3 counts of unlawful neglect of a child.
I told you, and I told the community on July the 15th, that this was an isolated incident. I stand here today to tell you with 100% certainty that this was not a random act of violence.
No one has been arrested for the murders.
On a Thursday night in late September, people on Johns Island were in bed when they were awoken by the sound of alarms. A tornado touched down around 12:45 a.m. near Cane-Slash Road. The twister tracked north-northwest for about 4 miles before turning at the Stono River to the northwest and traveling about 3 miles before finally dissipating near Savannah Highway and Main Road in West Ashley. The National Weather Service classified the tornado as an EF2 with winds up to 130 miles an hour.
Big snaps. Picked up my dog, went in the bathroom and sat in the tub until it was over. It came out and we have this. I couldn't believe it.
It don't happen here. It happens in Oklahoma.
I never experienced a tornado before, so I thought I was going to die.
Thankfully, there were no injuries reported due to the tornado, but it's estimated 70 to 80 homes sustained some sort of damage, and thousands of trees were uprooted or snapped. And the weather woes this year on Johns Island weren't limited to the tornado either. Higher than normal tides flooded Main Road, not once, but twice this year. Main Road is one of only 2 roads to get to the mainland from Johns Island, Wadmalaw, Rockville, Kiowa, and Seabrook. The flooding caused major traffic headaches for many drivers. The South Carolina Department of Transportation did put in a drainage pipe under the old railroad tracks that kept the flooding at bay during the last unusually high tide cycle, but they are still looking for a permanent fix.
September 30th, the rain began and it didn't stop for 5 days. By the time the sunshine returned, parts of the Palmetto State were covered in feet of water. Chief Meteorologist Rob Fowler has a look back at the historic event.
I'm standing on Sproul Avenue. It's a river where a street used to be.
The October storm, one for the history books, not just breaking records, but smashing them. New marks for 1-day, 2-day, 3-day, and 4-day rainfall totals. And the wettest October ever in Charleston by the 4th day of the month. The rainiest day, October 3rd, 11.5 inches fell at the official recording station at the airport. Some of the highest rainfall totals recorded in Charleston County. A gauge in Mount Pleasant measured nearly 27 inches. Gauges in Shadow Moss and Cainhoy measured more than 2 feet of rain. Berkeley County's highest total, Limerick, near the Hugie Recreation Area, with just over 22 inches. And Dorchester County's top spot, just northwest of Somerville, 19.5 inches.
When I got up, the car was covered, the flowers were floating in the yard, and I was like, oh my goodness.
It was called a 1,000-year storm, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen again in the near future.
I'm 65 years old, and I've never seen this in my whole 65 years of living.
What that term actually means is there's a 1 in 1,000 chance that amount of rain could fall in a single storm. So the odds of a storm of that magnitude happening next year is low, but it's not out of the question.
You know, we need to start thinking about the potential of a multi-impact event.
Our job as meteorologists help you prepare by looking for the warning signs. By Wednesday before the storm, the severity of the situation was coming into focus. A low-pressure system moving slowly across the southeastern United States with an upper-level cutoff low trailing closely behind. That low was pulling moisture from the Gulf of Mexico and even the Pacific Ocean. And in the Atlantic, a quickly strengthening Hurricane Joaquin, which we knew wouldn't be a direct threat, but it did play a role in our flooding. The cutoff low would have given us plenty of rain by itself, but Joaquin's location related to it created a conveyor belt of moisture right over the South Carolina coast, sending those rainfall totals even higher.
With all these weather factors working against us, the analogy we used quite a bit on television was the rain was like a fire hose that would not turn off. So with the help of the Mount Pleasant Fire Department, we're going to kind of demonstrate. So let's turn the hose on. So think of this area as the low country. You can see the rain concentrated, causing record rainfall for us. But at the same time, that rain area was fanning out, causing devastating floods in the Midlands.
By Sunday, the low began to slide and the rain train shifted north, sending the heaviest bands into Georgetown and Williamsburg counties. On Monday, the low shifted offshore, and only some wraparound rain was left.
What we're shifting our attention to, it's no longer what's falling from the sky, but what's happening on the ground.
But the danger was far from over. Low-country rivers, already swollen by local rainfall, were swelling even more with the rain rushing downstream from the Midlands.
The Black River has overflowed its banks and flooded homes like this one behind me.
The Black River near King Street crested at 22.5 feet, more than 10 feet above flood stage.
The Edisto River, of course, is behind us. You can see this used to be a parking lot, and Mike will give you a really good look. You can see the two trees there. You can see the stumps now buried.
The Edisto River near Givans Ferry crested at just over 16 feet.
This parking area that I'm standing in, if you remember Tuesday, we were right here over there by the stop sign, and the water was beyond the stop sign.
And a week after the heaviest rain ended, the Santee River near Jamestown crested at 22 feet, more than 12 feet above flood stage.
No place to live right now, and just finding a place, try to stay and keep my family together.
But it took several more days before the rivers fully receded and people were able to get back into their flooded homes.
October ended up being the second rainiest on record, and November was the wettest on record. And thanks to the rain we got last week, 2015 will go down in the record books as the wettest year in recorded history.